let's just look at all of the questions that we have learned here. So we learned ano means what, bakit means why, saan means where, sino means who, kanino means whose. Then we're going to learn these last four here. Next, paano means how. Paano means how. So paano plus a verb. Paano magluto ng adobo? How does one cook adobo? Paano magluto ng adobo? Or paano gumawa ng video? How do you make a video? How does one make a video? Paano gumawa ng video? So there's the paano question word. Then it's a verb that follows. And then ng plus a noun. Another way to use paano is paano plus a pronoun plus a verb. So paano ka uuwi? Paano ka uuwi? Paano ka umuwi? How did you get home? Paano ka umuwi? Or, paano mo nalaman yung balita? How did you discover the news? Paano mo, there's the pronoun, nalaman, there's the verb, yung balita. And just to note, there's no particular response formation for these paano question words. There's no pattern or anything like that, because your answers will just be a statement using the appropriate tense of the verb. So just answer as if it's a statement, right? So that brings in all of our conjugation patterns and using the correct pronouns and things like that. So just make a sentence with what you know. Now I want to show you this other question word. We learned paano, but there's also gaano. This also means how, but in a different sense. For example, gaano plus an adjective plus ang plus a noun. For example, gaano katangkad ang anak mo? Even if you've never heard the word katangkad, but you know the word matangkad. Matangkad means tall. Hopefully you can kind of maybe guess that this is asking about the height of someone's child, right? So, gaano katangkad ang anak mo? How tall is your child? Let's see another example. Oh, the answer would be 5'10" siya. He is 5'10". 5'10" siya. Here's another example. Gaano kadalas ka namimili? Kadalas means often. Madalas means often. Namimili means to go shopping. So how often do you go shopping? Gaano kadalas ka namimili? Namimili ako linggo-linggo. I go shopping every week. Namimili ako linggo-linggo. So I want to point out that when it says to use an adjective, we're actually using the adjective with a ka prefix. So technically the adjective is matangkad, tall, matangkad. But when we're using it in a gaano question, we have to use the ka prefix, katangkad. Gaano katangkad ang anak mo? And the ka prefix is a way to show the quality of something. It's asking about the characteristic of that adjective. It's a little interesting. So when we're asking gaano katangkad, it's like asking about that person's adjective or that height. So yes, again, the prefix ka is used when measuring the extent of that adjective. And then just a pronunciation tip, if you happen to see gaano ang something, it's usually put together and it's gaanong. So gaanong katangkad ang anak mo? We didn't have ang in these examples because technically you don't need it, but some people add it still, and it would be gaanong katangkad ang anak mo. So both of those are correct. Gaano katangkad ang anak mo or gaanong katangkad ang anak mo? Both of those are correct. Now, we learned paano, we learned gaano. Now there's this question, magkano. Magkano. Let's see what they all mean. So, paano is asking about an action, right? Paano gumawa ng adobo? How do you make adobo? It's asking about the action. Paano mo gumawa? Paanong gumawa ng adobo? Or paano mo nakuha ito? How did you get this? Paano mo nakuha the action to get ito? Another way to ask how is gaano, but this is asking about the extent of something. Gaano kabilis ang kotse mo? How fast is your car? Gaano kabilis ang kotse mo? So it's asking about the speed of your car. And then magkano is asking about the cost of something. Magkano ang t-shirt? How much is the t-shirt? Or magkano po? How much is this po? Po is just a sign of respect. So how much is this? Okay, so very interesting. These words sound alike, but they are used for different situations. Now, here are just some other paano uses. So, paano nangyari yun? How did that happen? Paano nangyari yun? Yari means happen. And then yun means that. Paano nangyari yun? How did that happen? Or paano na ngayon? What now? Ngayon means now. So technically this is like, how now? It's a rhetorical question when something goes wrong. Like, oh no, I lost my job. Paano na ngayon? What now? What am I going to do now? And then just a pronunciation tip. It's technically paano. Paano. When there are two vowels together, you say them separately. Paano. But when speaking quickly, Filipinos just say paano. Paano na ngayon? Paano na ngayon? Now, let's practice using paano and gaano in some questions. So, paano is with a verb. How do you do something? And then paano plus a pronoun plus a verb if you want to be specific by adding a pronoun. Gaano uses an adjective. So, gaano plus adjective plus ang plus a noun. Okay, so just try to follow these sentence structures. And then here are the examples that I want us to do. Let's do number 1 together. How does one write a book? How does one write a book? Magsulat means to write. Libro is book. Libro is book. So how does one write a book? This is actually asking about an action. So we would use paano. Paano magsulat ng libro? Paano magsulat ng libro? How does one write a book? Go ahead and pause the video now and we will do the rest together. Okay, welcome back. Let's do number 2. How did you make this? Ginawa means made. Paano mo ginawa ito? So that's following rule number 2. Paano, then the pronoun, then the verb. Paano mo ginawa ito? Number 3, how far is your house? Malayo means far, bahay is house. So, gaano kalayo ang bahay mo? Do you see that it's asking about the distance of your house? So it's like an extent of that adjective. So, gaano kalayo ang bahay mo? That's why we're using gaano instead of paano, because we're asking about like an adjective related to your house. How did you get that? Nakuha means got. Paano mo nakuha yan? There's no adjective in this question, so we would just still use paano. And that follows rule number 2. Paano mo nakuha is the verb yan. Number 5, how big is their dog? Malaki is big, aso is dog. How big is their dog? So it's asking about an adjective, so we would have to use gaano. Gaano kalaki ang aso nila? their dog nila. And then number 6, how spicy is the food? Maanghang is spicy, pagkain is food. So it's asking about an adjective, the spiciness of it. So it would be gaano kaanghang ang pagkain. Gaano kaanghang ang pagkain. So in all of these examples, I gave you the adjective in the ma form, right? Malayo, malaki, maanghang. So it's the ma form of the adjective. But remember, when you are using gaano as a question, you have to change the adjective into the ka form. So it has to have the ka prefix because it's asking about the extent of that adjective. Okay, if you have any questions, again, please feel free to write them in the comments. I will try to answer. Okay, next question word we're going to learn is ilan. How many? Ilan. So it would be ilan, then ang, then a noun. For example, ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? Ilan ang anak mo? Ang anak ko ay 3. Ang anak ko ay 3. I have 3 kids. Or 3 ang anak ko. Or 3. So again, there are many ways to respond. The first one is formal. No one really says it like that. The second one is common. That is what people would say. And then the last one is the short answer, which is also acceptable. I have 3 kids. That is what that means. Now, you might hear someone say, ilan na ang anak mo? Ilan na ang anak mo? Na means already. It's kind of like an emphasis. Maybe you haven't seen someone in a very long time and you're just catching up. They're like, ilan na ang anak mo? How many kids do you have now? Or how many kids do you have already? So it's just like an emphasis. And then technically, when you want to make something plural, you have to add the word mga. So mga anak, kids, mga anak. But in the question form, you don't have to add mga because it's already implied. So you don't say, ilan ang mga anak mo? You can, it's not wrong, but people drop it and it's just, ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? But it's not incorrect if you wanted to add mga, ilan ang mga anak mo? It's just kind of redundant. All right, next, ilan ang plus a verb. Ilan ang pupunta sa handaan? How many are going to the party? Ilan ang pupunta? Pupunta is the verb meaning to go. So ilan ang pupunta sa party? The response is, ang pupunta ay 5 or 5 ang pupunta or 5. I would say the second one. 5 ang pupunta. 5 people are going to the party. Next example, ilan ang kakain dito? How many are eating here? Ilan ang kakain dito? And then your response is, ang kakain dito ay 3. Or 3 ang kakain dito. Or 3. That means 3 people are eating here. Or will eat here. So both of these questions ask about like how many people are coming, how many people are eating. And I didn't add the word tao because it's kind of implied already. Like ilang tao ang kakain dito or ilan na tao ang kakain dito. Those just kind of make it a little bit more complicated. If you want to just get straight to the point of the question, you don't have to add the word tao. It's kind of implied. So, ilan ang pupunta sa handaan, ilan ang kakain dito. It's asking about like the people. Okay. Next. Just a pronunciation tip. When there's ilan ang, it's usually put together and it's ilang. Ilang taon ka na? How old are you? Ilang taon ka na? I will say when you make the contraction, though, it kind of changes up the sentence structure or the grammar. So, ilan ang taon mo? Technically, if we were following the sentence structure that we learned, it would be ilan ang taon mo? How many years do you have? How many years are you? But when we make the contraction, ilang taon ka na, now we are using a different pronoun. So, ilang taon ka na. And you don't have to add na. Ilang taon ka? How old are you? Ilang taon ka? But I do want to point out you have to change the pronoun here when you're making the contraction. And it's just a different form of asking how old are you. Another example of that is ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? Versus ilang anak ang meron ka? So we made the contraction and then now we changed up the grammar a little bit. So they both mean how many kids do you have? But this one is literally meron means to have. So ilang anak ang meron ka? How many kids do you have? So same meanings, just different ways of saying it. All right. Now, when you respond with an amount of something, you might hear or you might use this word lang or na. So, ilan ang anak mo? How many kids do you have? A response could be, isa lang ang anak ko. I only have one kid. Lang means only. Isa lang ang anak ko. Or, na means already. Tatlo na ang anak ko. I have 3 kids already. Tatlo na ang anak ko. Or another example, ilang donuts ang kinain mo? How many donuts have you eaten? Ilang donuts ang kinain mo? Or how many donuts did you eat? So, you could say, dalawa lang, only 2. Dalawa lang, only 2. Or, apat na ang kinain ko. I already ate 5. I've already eaten 5. Apat na ang kinain ko. So these 2 words kind of show almost like an emphasis, or they just give you an idea of how much or little something is. Only and already. Okay? Now, there are other ways to use ilan. Very interesting. So there's pang-ilan, tig-ilan, and mga ilan. So, pang-ilan is what you use when you're asking about the ranking of something or the order of something. So, for example, pang-ilan ka sa magkakapatid? In what order were you born amongst your siblings? So, were you the oldest? Were you the firstborn? Are you in the middle? Are you the last? Where were you in the order of your siblings? Pang-ilan ka sa magkakapatid? Some responses, panganay ako, I'm the oldest. Panganay ako. Pangatlo ako, I'm the third. Pangatlo ako. Or bunso ako, I am the youngest. Bunso ako. So you'll see the response usually has pang in it because the question has pang. So pang is almost like in which or where. It's just asking about like the placement of things. Okay, so here's another example. Pang-ilan ka sa contest? What place did you get in the contest? Pang-ilan ka sa contest? Here are some examples. Una ako, I was first. Una ako. Pangalawa ako, second. Pangatlo, third. So again, there's that pang prefix that you use to answer when it's a pang question. Very interesting. Next, tig-ilan means how many of each. So for example, maybe you're shopping at a store and you're like, oh, I like all of these t-shirts, but I want multiple of them. They might ask you, tig-ilan na t-shirt ang gusto mo? How many of each t-shirt do you want? For example, oh, I want 3 of the red t-shirts, 2 of the white t-shirts, 1 of the black. So, tig-ilan na t-shirt? How many of each t-shirt do you want? Your response would just be the number of it. So, dalawang pula, 2 reds, isang puti, 1 white, and so on. So, you see it's asking how many of each type of thing. Another example, tig ilan na tsokolate ang gusto mo? How many of each chocolate do you want? So, for example, if there are M&Ms, Snickers, Twix, and so on, tig ilan na tsokolate ang gusto mo? You could say, tig iisa po. I'll take one of each. Tig iisa. One M&M, one Snickers, one Twix. Tig iisa. Or tig dadalawa po. Two of each. Two M&Ms, two Snickers, two Twix. Tig dadalawa. Tig dadalawa. And then tig tatatlo po. Three of each. You get the idea. And then I want to show you that the question has na. So, tig ilan na t-shirt, tig ilan na chocolate. And in this case, na is translating as of. How many of each t-shirt, how many of each chocolate do you want? And then just a pronunciation tip here. Tig ilan is a homonym, meaning it can have different translations depending on how it's pronounced. So, tig ilan, when there's a hyphen in it, you have to have that glottal stop. Tig ilan. That means how many of each. When there's no hyphen, tigilan, tigilan. It's just one word, tigilan. That means to stop. For example, tig ilan t-shirt ang gusto nila? How many of each t-shirt do they want? Tig ilang t-shirt ang gusto nila. That means how many of each t-shirt do they want? But if you say, tigilan mo yan, that means stop that. Okay, so again, that glottal stop is important for proper pronunciation because they mean different things otherwise. And lastly, mga ilan means about how many. Mga ilan. So, mga ilan na tao ang darating? About how many people are coming? Mga ilan na tao ang darating? You could say mga 10 tao or mga 10 na tao. There's the contraction that you can make when the adjective or when the number ends in a vowel. Just add the ng at the end. So about 10 people, mga 10 tao. And up here, I just wanted to show you, you can make a contraction again. Instead of mga ilan na tao ang darating, it's mga ilang tao ang darating. About how many people are coming. So that's just a pronunciation tip. Make that contraction to make it flow a little bit better. Another example, ilan na tao ang darating? How many people are coming? Ilan na tao ang darating? 10. So that's just to show you the difference here. Mga ilan is about how many are coming versus ilan na tao ang darating. This is like definitive. 10 people are definitely coming. Versus mga 10, about 10. Okay, so when you add mga, it's asking about like an estimation. When you don't have mga, it's asking for a definitive answer. And then just another example of mga ilan na oras ang biyahe. Mga ilang oras ang biyahe. About how long is the trip? Mga 3 oras. It's about 3 hours. Mga 3 oras. So there is the na again, and then you can put it together so that it's just ilang. So mga ilang oras ang biyahe or mga ilang tao ang darating. All right. So this is just a review of how to use these different ilan questions. So pang ilan is a ranking question or asking about the order placement. Tig ilan is asking about how many of each. Mga ilan means about how many of something. Okay, now let's practice using ilan in some questions. So on the left side, you will see the different ways to use ilan. Ilan plus ang plus a noun. Ilan ang anak mo? Or ilan plus ang plus a verb. Ilan ang pupunta sa handaan? And here are some examples. Let's do number 1 together. How many cats do you have? Mga pusa is cats. It would be ilan ang pusa mo. Ilan ang pusa mo? Remember, you don't have to add mga, but you can. It's not incorrect. But just to be quick about it, and if you want to sound natural, you don't have to. So, ilan ang pusa mo? Ilan ang pusa mo? How many cats do you have? Pause the video now and you do the rest, and then we will go over it. All right, welcome back. Number 2, I have 2 cats. Dalawa ang pusa ko. So that's how you would respond to question number 1. I have 2 cats. Dalawa ang pusa ko. Number 3, how many are coming to the house? Darating means coming. So it would be ilan ang darating. So ilan plus ang plus a verb. Ilan ang darating sa bahay. Number 4, 4 people are coming to the house. Apat means 4. So 4 people are coming to the house would be apat ang darating sa bahay. Apat ang darating sa bahay. Remember, the short answer would be apat, apat. Number 5, how many friends do you have? Kaibigan is friends. Actually, kaibigan is friend. Mga kaibigan would be friends. Ilan ang kaibigan mo? Ilan ang kaibigan mo? How many friends do you have? Also, you could say, ilan ang mga kaibigan mo? Ilan ang mga kaibigan mo? That is also correct, but remember, you don't have to add it. Number 6, I have 10 friends. 10 means 10. 10 ang kaibigan ko. 10 ang kaibigan ko. Or 10 ang mga kaibigan ko. I have 10 friends. All right. Another way to answer this, meron akong 10 mga kaibigan. So I want to show you again, there are different ways to answer. There's a long form, there's a short form, there's an even shorter form, right? Just say the number by itself. So if you hear different responses, hopefully you can recognize some of the vocabulary words and just kind of go from there. This one is a fun practice. So I want us to match the question words with the correct example. Then we're going to translate and then give a response. So on the left side are the different question words. Pang ilan, tig ilan, mga ilan. On the right side are some example questions. How many of each hat do you want? About how many balloons are we going to buy? How many drinks have you had? Like, what number is that? Or what number of drinks is that for you? So we have to match what question word would go with that question, and then we will translate. So go ahead and do that. Pause the video and see if you can match and then translate and give a response. Okay, welcome back. Let's see. This is what the answers would be. Pang ilan goes with this question. How many drinks have you had? What number is that? What number of drinks is that for you? So it's asking about like the order of your drinks and asking about just basically like where you are in your line of drinks. Tig ilan would be how many of each hat do you want? So it's asking about the amount of each. Mga ilan, about how many balloons are we going to buy? So it's an estimation. We don't know exactly. It's just about how many do you want. Okay, so hopefully you were able to match them. Now let's see if we can translate them. How many of each hat do you want? It would be, tig ilan na sombrero ang gusto mo? Tig ilan na sombrero ang gusto mo? And then your response could be, tig iisa po, one of each. Tig iisa. Next, about how many balloons are we going to buy? Mga ilan na lobo ang bibilhin natin? Or mga ilang lobo ang bibilhin natin? Your response, mga 5, about 5, mga 5. How many drinks have you had? What number is this? What number of drinks is that for you? All of that is encompassed by this one question. Pang ilan na inumin mo na yan? Pang-ilan na inumin mo na yan? Pang-apat na ito. This is my fourth. Pang-apat na ito. So do you see how that one is asking about the order of your drinks or like how many you've had? And then your response is just that order. So this is the fourth. Pang-apat na ito. All right. So those were different ways to ask for how many. This next question word, alin, means which. Which. Alin. So alin ang, alin ang plus a verb. Alin ang plus a verb. So alin ang gusto mong damit? Yung pula or yung puti? Which dress do you like? The red or the white? Alin ang gusto mong damit? Your response would just be one of the choices. Yung pula ang gusto ko. The red is the one I like. I like the red one. Yung pula ang gusto ko. Or, yung pulang damit ang gusto ko. If you want to be specific, yung pulang damit ang gusto ko. So, yung pula means the red one. Yung pulang damit means the red dress, specifically. And then I want to point out, mong up here is just mo plus nang put together. So, alin ang gusto mo ng damit? Alin ang kinain mo? Yung cookie or yung cake? Which did you eat? The cookie or the cake? So, there's alin, then ang, then a verb. Alin ang kinain mo? Yung cookie or yung cake? Which did you eat? Your response, yung cake ang kinain ko. I ate the cake. Or, kinain ko yung cake. So those are the different ways you can respond. And then, of course, you can always put things together. So, alin ang becomes aling. So, aling gusto mo? Aling gusto mo? Alin ang gusto mo? Aling gusto mo? Alin plus an alin plus ang plus an adjective. Alin ang mas malaki? Yung bahay na pula o bahay na puti? It's kind of hard to see. Oh, there's the White House right here. It's to the left of the red house. So, alin ang mas malaki? Which is bigger? Yung bahay na pula, the red house, o yung bahay na puti, the White House? Mas malaki yung bahay na pula. Mas malaki yung bahay na pula. The red house is bigger. Mas means more, or it's like the part of an adjective. Here's another way to describe an adjective. Alin ang pinakamalaki? Which is the biggest? Yung bahay na itim ang pinakamalaki. The black house is the biggest. So I just want to point out these two words, mas and pinaka. Those are called superlative adjectives. So let's take a look at those a little bit more. So big is malaki, bigger is mas malaki, biggest is pinakamalaki. Small is maliit, smaller is mas maliit, smallest is pinakamaliit. And then just one more example, pretty is maganda, prettier is mas maganda, prettiest is pinakamaganda. So those are the different ways you can describe something, especially in this alin question form, like which is bigger, which is the biggest. Now you can also use alin with a pronoun. So it's alin plus ang plus noun plus pronoun. Alin ang bahay mo? Which is your house? Alin ang bahay mo? Your response? Yung bahay na maliit ang bahay ko. Or yung maliit na bahay. Both of those mean the small house is mine. Yung bahay na maliit ang bahay ko. And then another example now with verbs. Alin plus na plus noun plus ang plus a verb. So, alin na kotse ang bibilhin mo? alin na kotse ang bibilhin mo means which car are you going to buy? Yung mura na kotse, the cheap car. Yung mura na kotse. I think we already saw this. Anytime you see alin na, it's aling. So aling kotse ang bibilin mo. Aling kotse. Now, let's practice some questions using the word alin. Here are the different formats of using alin. Alin plus ang plus a verb. Alin plus ang plus an adjective. Alin plus ang plus a noun and pronoun. Then alin plus na plus noun, ang, and verb. Here are our practice questions. Which is your favorite? The sweet or the salty one? Paborito means favorite. Matamis means sweet. Maalat means salty. Alin ang paborito? So we just followed rule number 2. Alin ang paborito mo? Which is your favorite? And then the next part of the question, yung matamis o yung maalat? The sweet or the salty? Yung matamis o yung maalat? You take a minute, you do the rest, and then we'll check. Okay, number 2, my favorite is the sweet one. Paborito ko yung matamis. Paborito ko yung matamis. That is how you would respond to that first question. Or you could say these ways. Yung matamis ang paborito ko. The sweet one is my favorite. Or just simply you could say yung matamis, the sweet one. Number 3, which dish is the most delicious? Adobo or sinigang? Ulam means a dish or a meat. Masarap means delicious. So, alin na ulam ang pinakamasarap? Alin na ulam ang pinakamasarap? So, it's kind of taking rule number 4, but then instead of a verb, it's adding the superlative adjective. And then the choices would just be adobo o sinigang. Adobo is the most delicious dish, would be adobo ang pinakamasarap na ulam. Adobo ang pinakamasarap na ulam. So there you go. Hopefully you can see the patterns and then using some of these sentence markers when you want to add more information to your sentence. And I want you to try this Taglish tip whenever you are giving a choice. Maybe you can start using this word yung. So it's like, what do you want to watch tonight? Yung comedy or yung horror? So the comedy or the horror movie. So try using Taglish when you can. So that's one way to do that. So give choices by adding this word yung. Okay, home stretch. This is the very last question word we're going to be learning. Ba is a question word that's added to questions when it's a yes or no answer. It's interesting because ba doesn't really have a direct English translation, but you can add it to a statement and it will turn it into a question. So these are the common placements of ba. First, it goes after a noun, adjective, or a verb, or it can go before or after some pronouns, and it goes after na or pa if they appear in a phrase. So first, it can go after a noun, adjective, or verb. For example, bahay ba yan ni Sarah? Is that Sarah's house? Bahay ba yan ni Sarah? It's going after the noun. Or, mabait ba si Tita Baby? Is Tita Baby nice? Mabait ba si Tita Baby? So it's going after the adjective, mabait. Lastly, it can go after the verb. Nagluto ba si David? Did David cook? Nagluto ba si David? So it's going after the verb nagluto. Next, sometimes ba goes before a pronoun. Sometimes it goes after. take a look at this. So subject pronouns, we already learned about these in the previous lessons. Kumakain ako means I am eating. Kumakain ako. But if you wanted to ask, am I eating? Like if you're asking yourself rhetorically, ba would go before it. Kumakain ba ako? Am I eating? Kumakain ba siya? Is he eating? Kumakain ba sila? Are they eating? Kumakain ba kayo? Are you all eating? Kumakain ba tayo? Are we eating? Kumakain ba kami? Are we eating exclusive? But take a look at this pronoun. Kumakain ka ba? Ka. When you are using the singular you, ka, ba goes after that. Kumakain ka ba? And that's the only pronoun in the subject pronouns when ba would go after it. And I haven't found a rhyme or reason why this happens. Why is it ka has to go before the ba? It's just one of those things that has been a pattern in the Tagalog language. So just take note of that. Again, if you mix it up, if you happen to say kumain ba ka, that's not correct, but someone will correct you, hopefully. So don't be scared of making the mistake. Just know that there are certain times when ba goes before or after. Now let's take a look at possessive pronouns. So bahay nila yan, that means that is their house. Bahay nila yan. But when you add ba, it turns it into a question. Bahay ba nila yan? Is that their house? Bahay ba nila yan? So it's going before. Next, bahay ba namin yan? Is that our house? Bahay ba namin yan? Or bahay ba natin yan? Our house inclusive. Bahay ba natin yan? So those three examples, ba is going first. Now take a look at the last four examples. Ba is going after the pronoun. Bahay ninyo ba yan? Ninyo can be interchangeable. I've actually heard it bahay ba ninyo yan and bahay ba ninyo yan. So I've heard ba go before and after the pronoun for ninyo. Next, bahay mo ba yan? Bahay mo ba yan? Ba is going after the pronoun. Bahay ko ba yan? Bahay ko ba yan? And bahay niya ba yan? Bahay niya ba yan? Niya is another pronoun where I've heard both. Bahay ba niya yan? But mo and ko usually go before ba. So it's tricky. This slide is just to show you that it can be tricky when using ba and pronouns. I would say practice it. Also listen to native Tagalog speakers or listen to Tagalog movies and you will see you will hear where ba naturally goes. Okay? Again, it's unclear why ba goes before or after some pronouns. And there's no rhyme or reason that I know of. If anyone knows of a reason, please let us all know because I'd love to know. Next, ba goes after the words na or pa if they appear in the question. So na means already, na means already, pa means still. For example, natulog na ba si ate? Did big sister go to sleep already? Natulog na ba si ate? Or gising pa ba si kuya? Is big brother still awake? Gising pa ba si kuya? There's pa and it means still. Is he still awake? Kumain na ba kayo? Have you eaten already? Kumain na ba kayo? Na is right there and that means already. And lastly, busog pa ba kayo? Are you all still full? Maybe you ate a lot. Busog pa ba kayo? What's interesting is that when you take out the word ba, then these are all just statements. Natulog na si ate. Ate is asleep already. Natulog na si ate. As soon as you add the word ba, it turns it into a question. Natulog na ba si ate? Did ate go to sleep already? Same with busog pa kayo. Busog pa kayo. You all are still full. You're full. You ate a lot. You're still full. Busog pa kayo. But as soon as you add ba, it turns it into a question. Busog pa ba kayo? Are you still full? Very interesting how this small word can make a big difference. So now here are just some other ba uses. Talaga ba means, is that so? Talaga ba? Talaga means really. And when you add ba, it means, oh, really? Is that so? Hindi ba is that means, is it not? So it's like, hey, these are not the right tickets. And you're like, hindi ba? That's not, it's not. And then oo ba means sure. Like, hey, do you want to come with me? Oo ba? Okay, sure. Oo ba? Now, you can add ba to any of the question words that we learned, and it kind of works as an emphasis. We already saw some of these. Ano ba means what the heck? Ano ba? Bakit ba means why with emphasis. Bakit ba? Sino ba? Like who with emphasis. Like if someone is like, hey, someone's knocking at the door, they're knocking really hard, and you're like, sino ba? Who is it? And again, same with those other question words. Saan ba, ilan ba, kailan ba. It's just asking it more with an emphasis. Alrighty, last set of practice questions here. Let's practice ba, and here are the placements of ba. Remember, they go after a noun, adjective, or verb. They go before or after some pronouns, and then they go after na and pa if they appear in the question. Let's do the first one. Kumain ka ng almusal. We have to change the statement into a question by adding ba. So, kumain ka ng almusal means you ate breakfast. Where would ba go? Kumain is a verb, so it would probably go after that. Let's see. Kumain ka ba ng almusal. So it actually goes after ka because it is the pronoun, one of the pronouns that go before ba. Tricky, right? It's just one of those things that we'll have to memorize. So kumain ka ba ng almusal means you ate breakfast. Did you eat breakfast? Pause the video now and then we will do the rest in just a minute. Okay, welcome back. Number 2, nasa eskwelahan na ang mga bata. The kids are at school already. Nasa eskwelahan nasa eskwelahan na ang mga bata. The answer would be, nasa eskwelahan na ba ang mga bata? Nasa eskwelahan na ba ang mga bata? So there's the word na, ba would go after that. Next, galit si nanay, mother is mad. Galit ba si nanay? Galit is an adjective, so ba would just go after that. Rule number 1. Number 4, bahay yan ni Ate Mary. That is Ate Mary's house. Bahay yan ni Ate Mary. Where would ba go? It would go after the noun. Bahay ba yan ni Ate Mary? Is that Ate Mary's house? Number 5, aso mo yan. That is your dog. Aso mo yan. It would be aso mo ba yan? So tricky. You might have put ba after aso, but mo is one of those pronouns that has to go before ba. And just one of those things that we have to remember again. Number 6, pupunta dito si Luke bukas. Luke is coming here tomorrow. Pupunta dito si Luke bukas. Where would ba go? Pupunta ba dito si Luke bukas? So ba would just go after the verb. Okay. We did it. We learned all of the different Tagalog question words. There's a lot, isn't there? And there are lots of different ways to use them. But let's go ahead and review them. So ano means what? Ano. Bakit? Why? Bakit? Saan? Where? Saan? Kailan? When? Kailan? Sino? Who? Sino? Kanino? Whose? Kanino? Paano? How? Paano? Ilan? How many? Ilan? Alin? Which? Alin? Ba is a question word. Ba. And then just to recap, here is everything we did in class today. We learned the different Tagalog question words. We learned the question formation of these words. We also practiced some responses. We also learned some common questions. And then we did a lot of practice questions as well. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. If you have any questions, please go ahead and write them in the comments, and then I will try to answer them. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next class. Paalam!